Y'all ready to blaze away or what?
Since the release of Tekken 8, and you can even go backwards into Tekken 7, we have been eyeballing, staring at, studying the character statistics, and me personally, I love it. You know, the players have their own, ideas of what they think about each individual character, how strong they are, how effective they are, how popular they are, all these different things. But I just like to take those opinions and compare them to the data and just see how they stack up. And sometimes they match perfectly, but then sometimes they're far different. And that's when we start to hear opinions like, oh, well, certain characters are popular for different reasons. Like, they may not be the most used character in the game, but they may be like a very important aspect of the game, part of the game. And you could talk about like Eddie, Yoshimitsu, Zhayu. Those characters are very iconic, but their usage in many different games are lower because more moves, more stances, more difficult to use than, let's say, an Alyssa or a Lily or some other character. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about these new statistics that was just posted. Now, we always got to give a huge shout out to the person who does all this research. The person on Reddit is not quite factual. Now, when we look at the most recent one that they did, there's a lot of interesting things here that I just want to break down. This month's report comes just shy of 2 months since the introduction of the second DLC character, Lydia. We've also seen some bug fixes and balance changes since the last game meta report, so we'll see if those had much effect. So players are split into beginner, intermediate, advanced, and master tiers based on rank. Orange rank through purple is considered intermediate. Dang. Blue through Tekken Emperor are considered advanced. Tekken God and above are considered master player. I am a master player. The lower the usage of the character, the more effective they are because less people will know the matchup. Not everyone goes into practice and lab each character. People just play the game and they just get experience that way. And when you don't see a character that often, you get destroyed. When you look to the lower end, you can see that Kazuya now is the worst in terms of win rate. I don't know. I always ask this question because I wonder if it's on a developer's mind. And the question simply is, for a character like Kazuya and Reina and Law, who were very, very powerful, and King, right? Somebody look at the bottom 5, bottom 6, very powerful characters, but the players just cannot seem to win. They try to buff these characters, they try to remove defense from the game, and the same people who are playing these same characters are still getting bodied, even like Yoshi players and whatnot. So I just wonder, at what point do you just say, like, the players are just scrubs, they're just doing whatever they're doing, and we just got to make the game the best we can make it? Because right now, Tekken is all about trying to, inflate people's skill. But it's still not working for some of the most popular characters in the whole game. Kazuya, King, Reina, Jin, right? Harang, still not working. When you talk about the rank distribution, this looks pretty similar as well. I was asking a question, I think I did a poll where I was saying, do you want the ranks to be reset? I know in games like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, League of Legends, a game that I used to play a lot, Smite 1, all of these games did like resets. And when I say a reset, I'm not talking about reset everyone back to beginner. That would be horrible. Usually what they do, and this is what Tekken 7 did as well, they knocked everyone back like 5 ranks. And I wonder if Tekken should do that. The majority of people were saying no. They worked so hard for all this progress. A lot of people were making good progress, and to get set back would not feel right. But the idea that I throw out there, people say Yoshi players are carried, right? Just flash, just heat, and you win. If they destroy Yoshimitsu in the next update, but all the Yoshimitsu players retain their rank, do you guys feel like that's fair? Or do you feel like, since Yoshimitsu is now rebalanced, should all of the Yoshis be re-ranked? I don't know, it's an interesting idea, and I see a lot of other competitive games do it. And when you talk about Tekken being competitive, I mean, if you're truly competitive, then do like the other competitive games do and reset the ranks. That's just a conclusion that I come to, but it's not the same conclusion that everyone else comes to. The next one here is the most popular characters in the whole game. Now, we saw the top spot switch a little bit over the past 2 months. When Lydia came out, she was number 1. Lydia now is, where is she? Just outside of top 10, so she's kind of hovering in that area. And what I will say as well is Eddie's coming back up. Eddie, when he released, he was number 1, and then he dropped down to like the 17s, but it seems like he's kind of making his way up a little bit. Same thing with Victor. Victor's an interesting case. This guy was top 5 most popular character in the whole game, and then now look look at him, right? And a lot of people say, oh, that's because he was nerfed and yada, 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 yada. But I don't think so. I don't think people left this character because he got nerfed, because honestly, he really didn't get clapped up that much. He's still very much tournament viable, and a lot of people use him in tournament to cause damage. He's not nerfed at all. He's just different. But I think a lot of people are just playing other characters. Like, for example, King, Jin, and Kazuya, and Harang. Those characters since release has only gotten more popular. When the game first came out as well, you could talk about how Dragunov, Reina, and I believe like Jin was the most popular characters. Now Dragunov is sort of falling off a little bit. Think about this. People talk how Dragunov is so overpowered, and yet all this time later his usage is going down. So this tells me that the majority of the player base does not pick characters based on how powerful they are, because if they did, his usage would go up, not down. And the same thing with Yoshimitsu. He's also going down a little bit too. Let's keep going. What's the next one? The next one is, so this is the win percentage for intermediate players. Probably gonna look just the same as, you know, advanced players, with like a few things that's changed here and there. Because in my opinion, intermediate and advanced are so intertwined, the ranks are so close, congested. You can also talk about Tekken prowess affecting matchup outcomes. If a God of Destruction player switch to a new character, they're going down into the intermediate section and they're going to do serious work over there, right? That's also something I don't know how the developers can fix, because the reason why Tekken prowess was implemented, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but I just think Tekken doesn't have that many players online. Looking at some of the top comments on this post, it says, really shows how busted Dragunov is. Basically, all the most popular characters have bottom 10 win rates, while Dragunov managed to be very popular and maintain a high win rate at the same time. And this is the distinction that I always make between Yoshi and Dragunov. You know, I play Yoshimitsu. Here comes the character bias. Dragunov really is different. He's so much more simpler than Yoshi and Fang, and I would even say like Nina and so on and so forth, right? He really is like the #1 when it comes to best in the game. And this is why I think we see him so much more in tournaments than every other character, because he is so easy to pilot. It takes no effort at all. And it shows with him being one of the most played characters in the game, but also his win rate being very, very high. But also too, if you go back and watch my other video where we talked about character data and whatnot, the Dragunov players' defense was very high as well, some of the highest in the whole game. So even though those guys are playing very powerful characters, a lot of those guys are still playing incredible defense, far better than anyone else on any other character. Another top comment, key takeaways: players are not lapping the bears at all. And then Kazuya players are trash. This is the whole thing about clone characters, right? When you have two of the same characters but they have slight differences, it makes it difficult to really understand and remember and distinguish those two characters. I guarantee you there's some orange rank player out there who is expecting Panda to do an electric and she never does, and he dies because of it or something, you know? So I just think the developers understand how clone characters can affect the game negatively, but when it comes to the bears, they just continuously let it slide for whatever reason. Just put Panda and that's it. Someone has a theory regarding Nina and Yoshi. There are two kinds of high rank Nina Yoshi: those who are good core Tekken and those who are simply exploiting overtuned characters. Gimmick Yoshi Nina can get very far in this game, but tend to get pushed back somewhat in gold ranks where players have literally years of experience dealing with can opener, unblockable, low sweep, etc. However, the damage these characters can do still means that only need a gimmick to work once to end the entire round. This leads to an inconsistency of results in their part, despite the character overwhelming strength in the hands of a good core Tekken player. But see, this is how I feel Yoshimitsu is supposed to be. Yoshimitsu is supposed to be this very like risk versus reward character. And in Tekken 8, you don't have to play that way. And I think that is what makes Yoshimitsu busted.